Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the shop. Glad you could join me again. Today we have another tool restoration repair video kind of a thing. This is pretty bad. I mean, this is probably one of the worst ones I've done so far. But this is a Craftsman table saw that I found a while back. And I found it during the winter, so I really couldn't do much with it. But now during the summer, I can go ahead and tackle this. And I'm going to try to bring this puppy back to life. I found it and I was just going to do it for myself. But then I posted a question on the community tab and asked if anybody was interested in watching this video. And pretty much everybody said they were. It was pretty unanimous where everybody said, go ahead and fix it and we'd like to see you do it. So here I am doing it for you guys. So I guess you could say this is a viewer requested video, I guess you could call it. Anyway. So what we're going to do is try to bring this puppy back to life. The motor still works. I've already tested that. We obviously need to repair the wiring and repair the case and reposition it, make a new case for it. Now I imagine if you really wanted to, you could probably, maybe, possibly order a new case from Sears and pop it on there and be good to go. But where's the fun in that? I mean, come on, that's the easy way. Anybody can do the easy way. We don't do the easy way here. We do it the hard way. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new box for it and then transfer over all the knobs and all that kind of good stuff to the new box and try to make it that way. So let me show you around, flip it over, give you a good look of what we're starting with, and that way you have an idea of where I need to go with this. All right, so let's get started taking a closer look at this and see what we need to do to get started. Obviously, you can see there, it needs new wiring. The box is broken. The top is still pretty much intact, but then again, it is metal, so that would remain intact. All the pieces are there for the top, so that's perfectly usable. Rip off that dirty masking tape thing. And the top is very lightweight. The whole thing really is very lightweight. The top is aluminum because it's non-magnetic. So aluminum would be the cheapest thing they would go with. I don't think they went to magnesium. Doesn't look like it. Let's see inside. What are we working with here? Well, let's see here. The motor you can see is still there. The rods and all that are still there. Very rusty, but it's all there. The box, the control box is still there. Like I said, the motor, it still spins. It works. Let's see, all the controls and everything are still there, the safety switch, all that. I have to clean that up, a lot of cobwebs and stuff on it. Clean that up. Obviously the box is no good. Have to take it off the bolts that are there, make a new box to go all the way around. So we have to reattach it to the top there, clean it up along the way. Not worried about cleaning the blade or anything because that'll clean itself up as you're cutting wood. So let's see, let me turn that over. Let me see here, turn this over. We can get a better look at what the motor says. And how do I see this here? There we go. You can see a little bit about what the motor does. A little bit of the workings of the motor there. So, wait a minute, am I looking at it upside down? What am I doing here? No, I guess there we go. I can't tell which way I'm looking through a viewfinder. Anyway, there you go. That tells you a little bit about the motor and what we're dealing with there. The blade looks pretty old. That's not a big deal. I'll use it for the time being until I get everything set up. And let's see, there you see the case all busted up. Everything in there. So, all right, let's start taking this puppy apart. Okay, so we need this metal backing plate. So we have to get these screws out of there, one way or the other. So we got to get to them. I may be wasting my time with this front, but I don't, oh, there's a serial. Good, I can look this up on the internet. There we go. All right, I'm going to try to save this front sticker here. It's a plastic, not really a sticker, it's a stuck-on plastic. I don't know if it'll come in handy or not. I don't want to ruin it. If I can salvage it. There we go. So maybe when I make the other box for it, I can put that on there. At least it'll help as a guide. I have all the gauge down here, so that'll be helpful. There we go. And there you can see the specs of the motor and stuff like that. It gives you a general idea what we're working with here. And there you go, the serial number and model number, in case you're interested. All right, let's save that for later. Probably use this to measure the height that I need and so forth. But we need to save this bracket. And these screws are not coming out of here, so I'm going to have to cut the heads off of there. Those are no good. A lot of this stuff is far gone. I'll separate these two metal pieces, and then I'll clean them up and paint them. So let's do that. Okay, so we got this baby taken apart. You can see all the components lying there in front of you. Now it's time to go through and start cleaning everything before we start measuring out to make a new box. Because we're not going to clean it up after we put it all back together. So let's clean up all the parts as best we can, and then we'll make a new box for it. Okay guys, so let me bring you up to speed as to what I've done so far before I continue, because a lot of the things that I've done so far are going to become internal, and it's probably going to be impossible to show you any of this stuff as I continue and put it all together. So let me show you what I've done and talk about it before I do put it all together. So I showed you cleaning up the inside of the saw, and I didn't show the part where I painted it all. So here you see now that the saw is all nice and clean, all the rust is gone, I cleaned it up really nicely, and I painted the whole thing. I didn't really paint it for looks, because you're not going to see any of this stuff, but I painted it to keep the rust at bay, basically to keep the metal cleaner over time and prevent it from rusting again. And yes, I painted the blade too. That's going to come off when I start using it, and I will probably replace that blade down the road anyway. So this is only for completion of the project that I left the old blade on, so don't be really concerned about that. So this is the inside of the saw the way it is right now. Now let's see, the front here, you can't really tell. I'll show you the box in a minute, and I'll explain a couple things, but here's the electrical box and all that I still have to make holes for. This part right here, this is for changing the angle of the blade to make it 45 degrees or whatever you want in between. This had a big bracket on it, this bracket right here, and I pretty much cut it. It had two parts, the bottom part and then another top part. I cut the two parts off because this was restricting where I could put it, how I could put it, and it was forcing me to go to a weird angle because the box, the original box, was tapered, so it would be at an angle like that. And this was being forced to go at a weird angle. And also, the bracket forced it to be further in than I wanted it to, and it wouldn't let this go through the wood. I'll show you that in a minute. So I basically had to cut it, and that way I can put this up close to the wood so this will stand out so the handle can clip onto here. So let me show you the box. So this is the box that I've made so far. It's upside down right now. But obviously it doesn't go this way on the saw. I mean, not the way I have it situated right now. It'll go that way when the saw's on top of it. But I made the box, obviously 4 sides, you know, the 4 different sides to it. And it seems like a very simple thing to do, but it's really not that easy. It's a bit of a head scratcher because you have no dimensions to go by. I had absolutely no dimensions to go by. I mean, the only parts, let me show you. These are all the pieces that I have of the original box. That doesn't even make 2 sides. That's like part of the front, part of one side, and part of the other side. So that gave me no real blueprint to go by as to how to make the box so that it all lined up together. Because all these holes are where things need to go, and it all needs to line up together. So that was the problem, a lot of head scratching to be able to figure this out and get all this stuff lined up properly. So this is going to be the front of the saw. This over here, right there, is where the angle knob is going to come out through, protrude through there. And these little blocks that I put up here are what the saw will rest on and be attached to it. And I went ahead and since, you know, you never know how exact this stuff is, I put a little bit of adjustment in there. So that way I can adjust it all back and forth a little bit. So I can move it side to side, rock it around, whatever the case may be, to get the box to sit on there properly. And if you turn it over, this is what it looks like from the other side. So like I said, I still have to attach this. I got to drill screws for the holes on here. The front here, I still have to drill holes for the power switch and the reset switch, and I still have the metal bracket and all that to attach. This is the bracket right here on the angle adjuster, which this I still have to attach to there. This will be attached on the front of it. This is all the hardware and the knobs and so forth. This is the bracket that I cut off. It had 2 parts to it, you know, upper and lower part, and the bracket that I kept was the part right here in the middle. So that part I kept, the rest of it I got rid of because it was making it too difficult. Here's the power switch. So all this stuff still needs to go on there, and then I will be able to start attaching it all. But that gives you some rough idea what I've done so far and how I put it all together and what it's going to look like when it's all done. And in case you're wondering, this is particle board that I use. In case you can't tell, it's particle board. It's some old shelving that I had lying around, and I basically cut it up to use it, for making the box here and stuff like that. And I know you're probably saying, well, plywood probably would have been a whole lot better choice. And you're right. I would have preferred to use plywood for sure. The only problem is, if I was to go out and buy a sheet of plywood, for me in my area, a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, good, clean plywood, you're looking at about 50 bucks. 50 bucks, that's about halfway towards buying a brand new saw. So that would defeat the entire purpose of doing this project, of taking an old beat up saw and making it work. Basically, I would be spending the same amount of money between making the box and the labor and all that. I could just go out and buy a brand new saw and save myself the trouble. So the point of this is to restore an old broken saw and have fun doing it and learn stuff along the way, because I always learn something new. And also to save money. So that's why I used the particle board, because I had it, didn't cost me anything, and I didn't know how many mistakes I was going to make along the way. And I didn't want to mess up good, clean, expensive plywood. The good thing about this is once I finish, I will have a usable template, which I didn't have at the beginning of this project. So having this template, I will know how to make a new one much better. If I need to make a second box and the saw lasts me and doesn't break down, because I really don't know if this saw is going to last or not. Right now it's a good saw and it runs just fine. But what if in 2 months it breaks down? Then I would have wasted all that time and money and everything. So right now, if it does turn out to be a good saw and it does last me, I could always go down the road somewhere and decide to buy myself a good sheet of plywood and make another box. And the other one, I can make better than this one based upon what I've learned from making this one. Use crappy materials to make the first one, and then once you learn, you can always make another one with better materials. That's the way I do it. Anyway, so I'm going to keep working on this, and let's continue with the project. One modification I'm going to make to this saw, this is not part of the original design that the saw had originally, but I'm going to put a dust collection opening in the back of the saw, and that's what I'm going to do right now. And then later on I'm going to close up the bottom, because these saws all come with an open bottom, and that makes a total mess whenever you're using it, just sawdust all over the place. So I'm going to close up the bottom when I'm done, and I'm going to use this dust collection port. And the dust collection port, I'm going to use a standard shop vac hose that I have right now, but it can always be opened up bigger if I get a bigger hose. No big deal. Any random location towards the bottom of the box will do just fine. Perfect. Perfect. heck? Basically, I'm assembling the ground wires for the saw. And I dropped one of the screws. Of course I did. Let me put this one in here. There you go. Let me get the other screw. There we go. And there you go. Both screws are nice and tight now. Now we put on the power switch. Then all we have left to do is to put this box back in here. And we're going to have to go around to the front to be able to see how we do that. Go to the front so I'll show you how I attach the box onto here. Okay, so now I'm going to attach the power button and the reset button here, the electrical box that covers all this from behind. Now, originally, since this was made out of a very thin plastic, it only had these tiny little screws to hold the box in place. That will not go through the thickness of the wood. I don't know if you can see right here. but this is the same thickness as the wood, so it will not penetrate. So I'm going to have to use some 1 1/4 inch, 1 3/4 inch wood screws, something like that, to do that. So let's attach all that. So I'm going to line the box from behind so I can get it attached in there properly. I'm going to line up all the wires and everything so it will connect properly. Get the top one first. Yeah, that's nice and secure. Am I getting that or not? There we go. So the box is now fully attached on the back. The power button is ready to go. The reset switch is ready to go. There we go. Good and solid. Okay, now as a finishing touch for the front, remember I took off this plastic label off the old cover, and I kept it just in case I needed it, and I decided not to get rid of it. I decided that it gives a nice finishing touch to the front of the saw. Of course, I really don't need it, but it gives it a nice finish, like I said. And I realized that if I stuck it onto the board here, if I ever made another box, I would lose it with this old box. So I decided to put it on a piece of plastic. That way I can remove it and place it on any new box that I create. So that's what I'm going to put on right now. Just a nice little finish to the front. And it does say Craftsman. Gives me all the stats about the saw and all that, just in case I need it down the road for some reason. But the power button has to go in front of this. So now I need to take this off to be able to put the power button through here and put it back on. Push all the wires back on through. There. Now all I have to do is attach this with a few screws and we're good to go. There you go. The power button holds it right there. And let's see, let me find the holes for it. So let's see, down here. And this, we just need some tiny little screws to hold it in place. There you go. Let's put the other holes. I put a little too low and it keeps getting turned off. There we go. 2 should be sufficient. Yeah, loosen you up a bit. Stretch it out. And there we go. A nice finish to the front of the saw. Okay guys, so here we have it, the finished product. The saw has been brought back to life. The saw, the motor, the top, everything has been put into a new box. I saved the front just like I showed you previously, and I'm pretty close to the original dimensions. I made it a tiny bit taller because these shelves were already pre-cut, so all I did was cut the width and left the height alone. As you can see, this is the original front, and I basically it was a difference about 1.5 inches, something like that, and I figured why cut it it may be convenient to have the extra height to it, so I left the shelves the way they were. I only cut the sides and left the height alone. And it's pretty much about the same dimensions as it was originally. Obviously, kind of hard to tell with this, but the box would have been tapered so it would come out further at the bottom. My box is straight, so it looks like it's bigger, but it's the taper making the difference by what I was able to calculate. So that's about pretty close to what the original one would have been. I'll put some pictures so you can see what the original saw would look like. So that came pretty darn close. Everything here is pretty much what I found with the saw, except for this handle back here, which locks the blade in place. Once you adjust it, you lock it in place. This one was missing, was not present, was not available, was not there, didn't have it. So what I did was I pulled this knob from my pile of extra bits and bobs, my junk pile, where I keep all sorts of little doodads like that, and I was able to find one that fit perfectly. So now I can adjust the angle of the blade and lock it in place when I'm ready to go. So we have pretty much everything there. Let me move you around to the side. On this side over here, there's not a lot to see, except I drilled some vent holes so that the motor will not overheat and, keep it cool and so forth. And I gave it a new cord because whoever threw it away, the previous owner, they cut the cord off. So I had to give it a nice new cord to make it functional. And I kept the grounding and all that stuff, so it'll work perfectly fine. On the back is just the vent port for the vacuum to be able to suck up the sawdust and stuff like that. Not going to bother with that. Nothing to see there. On this side over here, you have the angle adjustment, and I moved over the sticker from 0 to 45, and this functions as well, so that way it can be angled from 0 to 45. Alright, so there you have the saw in its full glory, is fully restored, brought back to life, given a new lease on life, you could say. And there you see it on top of my folding Black & Decker work table that I got about a year or so ago, and I still don't know what it's called. Go watch that video. Maybe you can give me some insight as to what that table is called and help out some other people that may like to purchase a table like that. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is go outside and cut some wood to show you exactly how well this saw works. And remember to hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you enjoy DIY projects, restoration projects, stuff like this, because it's going to get noisy. I won't be able to say it after a little while. So let's get outside and cut some wood.